Hello, so today I'm going to be presenting about the Republic of Adygea in Russia. Adygea is a pretty small republic located here. Krasnodar is just north of uh, or Krasnodar city, should I say, is just north of the republic, and it is entirely surrounded by Krasnodar Krai, one of the major Caucasian republic or krais within Russia. Uh, its capital city is Makop here in the center, and up here along the Kuban River in the north, there are several other cities. It has a population of around half a million, which is pretty large for the size of the republic, but is still quite small. The history of the republic. Um, this republic is really to represent the Circassians in the Caucasus, and the Circassians are only a minority within the republic nowadays. I believe they're around 25% of the population due to a genocide that we will get to soon. In 1922, the Cherkasy Autonomous Oblast was formed, and the republic, as is known today, became itself in 1991. And here you can see the Cherkasy Autonomous Oblast, I guess seal it should be, which combines the Muslim star with the Soviet symbolism, and I believe this is pretty interesting because it's combining a pretty atheistic ideology, at least in terms of the how the Soviets saw it, with probably one of the most obvious Muslim symbols that's out there. All right, so Circassians. These are one of those Caucasian groups. They culturally are quite related to most other Caucasian groups. And over about a century, the Russian Empire gradually took over the areas of the Caucasus. And it's not just Adygea, but Adygea was, in a sense, the homeland of the Circassians. And during this conquest, this uh, the Russians would destroy Adygean villages and basically destroy the entire uh, kind of way of life of the Circassians as it had existed for probably at least several hundred years, if not 1,000 years. Um, so, as it says here, there's the genocide, which killed over a million, but probably its main impact was that the Circassians really don't live in what was their homeland anymore, and most of them have moved to Turkey. In fact, I know someone from there who's Circassian. There's a massive community there. They host cultural events, and in many ways, they still have a mindset of they're not where they're supposed to be, you know. Uh, and then they usually beforehand it's kind of unclear, but it seems that they had several different belief systems from either earlier Caucasian inhabitants or from their own kind of culmination of different belief systems. But today they're mostly Sunni, probably both because they moved into Turkey, which is a Sunni country, and then also most of the other regions within the Caucasus had uh, transitioned to Sunni Islam. Uh, One of the things the Circassians are known for is their prayer rugs, which are, as you can tell, designed for the mountains with their insulation. So this rug is quite thick, and uh, it doesn't only serve as a prayer rug, but it can also serve as a basically a way to stay alive in the mountains. So the flag, which we'll get to later, is really the Circassian flag. It was just adopted by the Republic later. And then, of course, the Circassians had a tribal system, which included the uh, Yigerukwai, Mamagek, Chemegoys, Hatukwe, and Abzaks, at least in Adygea. and the Adygea Circassian language is spoken in Adygea, which we'll get to later also. Nowadays, like I said, most Circassians live in a large diaspora from Turkey to the US or even Egypt in some cases. There's actually a large Circassian population in New Jersey, I believe. There's a town in New Jersey, I believe it's like Wayne, that still recognizes the Circassian genocide. I believe it's like the only town in the world too, which is quite interesting. So in terms of its geography, on the north, like I mentioned earlier, is the Kuban River, which is probably one of the major rivers in the Caucasus in terms of having navigability. Uh, there is some small-scale shipping along it, although really Adygea doesn't get too much from that because it forms the border with Krasnodar. So only a small region of the republic is near the river. Like I said earlier, it's the fourth smallest subdivision in Russia, so this is a pretty small uh, region and quite oddly shaped region too. Um, and although, of course, you have to remember with Russia, with how large it is, uh, even the fourth smallest subdivision will be quite large. So the entire republic is really mountainous, with the tallest mountain here being Mount Chugush, which is in the Mekopsky district, I believe. I want to say. Same as the Lagonaki Plateau, which has alpine meadows. Here, I believe the next slide has a good photo of that. So here, you can kind of see those alpine growth. It reminds me of Mount Washington here in the U.S. If you've ever gone there, or the Alps in Germany with their flowers. It's actually quite a pretty view here. The Republic is supposed to be amazing for hikers. Okay, so in terms of the culture, 65% of the population is Russian. Of course, uh, even after the genocide, that you know, the Circassian population still went down because people migrated out towards Turkey, towards what they saw as the only real communities of Circassians still standing, or the Soviets' Russification policy within most of their regions, where Russians were moved into these areas in order to, in a sense, suppress the local population. Uh, and of course, there are some smaller populations of other, uh, ethnic groups that would be found within the area, like Kurds, Roma, Armenians, and Ukrainians. And since the 90s, the population has really remained stagnant around, I believe, 450,000 people. So it's not changing a lot. It's had a lot of migration out of since the 90s just because of a lack of economic opportunity. But it still has a relatively high fertility rate for Russia, I believe. I'm not sure on that though. In terms of religion, it's around a third Orthodox, which mostly comes from the Russians, a quarter Muslim, which comes from the Circassians for the most part. The Kurds might also contribute to that, of course. And then one fifth spiritual, and the rest either agnostic, other types of Christian, or atheist. So getting back to Adygea, which is the language of the Circassians, it's co-official within the republic with Russian, as with most other ethnic republics in Russia. And here you can see kind of the modified language. So you have this I letter, somewhat similar to Ukrainian, although I believe Ukrainian has a bit of a different function, and it can be combined with several other letters, so it kind of accommodates the Circassian way of speaking within this Cyrillic alphabet. In terms of the economy, the republic itself is not doing the best economically. I believe 15% of its GDP is from industry, so it's really quite a rural republic in many senses. Um, and despite a large amount of oil and natural gas reserves within the republic, they're not really exploited to any degree. And for the most part, kind of wood isn't necessarily agricultural, but uh, wood, sunflowers, and other agricultural products, kind of this famous exports from the republic. And the current leader, Murat Kumpilov, who is mostly seen with Putin in order to reassure him that there will not be any conflict within his region, is from United Russia, which is the main party in Russia and Putin's party, essentially. Um, and as I said, unlike several other Caucasian regions of Russia, Chechnya, Adygea is a pretty peaceful area, probably due to Russians making up the majority of the region. Um, and Circassians tend to get along with Russians. Of course, how much of that is the Russians being the majority, we don't know, but at least it is a more peaceful republic. So even though they're not necessarily doing the best economically, they are doing quite well in terms of stability. In terms of its flag, like I said earlier, it's basically the Circassian flag. Uh, I like it. It's a very good flag in terms of its simplicity, but it's still quite recognizable and it's pretty easy to draw and memorize. Um, the stars each represent Circassian tribes, which is a great nod to, in some sense, towards the tribes that are no longer within Adygea, which is quite sad. But as I said here, the arrows are for the Khabze, which is the moral code of the Circassians, which including it basically governs many different aspects of Circassian society, but in this case, it advocates for the self-defense of the Circassians, which you can understand why they have that within their moral code. Overall, I'd say this is an A-tier flag. It's quite good. Is it anything like absolutely amazing? No, but it does everything quite well, and I'm honestly quite glad they chose something to represent the Circassian population no longer within the Republic, shall we say. So, for the anthem, it is a pretty good anthem. I'd say it's A tier, which is pretty usual for most African republics that have anthems. It's somewhat unusual to get, so nice thoughts. Let me know if you think I should continue this series. I'm planning on doing every single subdivision of Russia. So, thanks for today. Thank you.